They tried to contain it. They failed. It's been 48 hours since the Bureau shut down public access to the reflection archive. All mirrored data sealed. Every file marked lexicon echo, redacted. But someone on the inside leaked more. A classified Bureau briefing. Timestamped 3:47 a.m. Marked urgent. Subject line, Observer Pattern Breach, Active Phase. It begins with a report. Entity no longer passively mirroring subjects. Exhibiting self-directed behavior. Translation is not just watching anymore, is choosing. At first, the pattern was sporadic. One anomaly every 6 days, then every 3. Now, 6 appearances in the last 24 hours. And they're spreading. Different states. Same description. Witnesses report. Frozen reflections. Eye contact that doesn't break even when they move. A sensation, described by multiple people, as being remembered by something that shouldn't know you. One man, Caleb Morrison, a bus driver from Nebraska, filed a statement after refusing to use his rearview mirror. He covered it with duct tape. Said he saw something behind him that never sat down. Never blinked. Just watched. His words, "I knew if I looked again, I wouldn't be the one driving anymore." His route was reassigned. His bus still parked. Inside, police found the tape torn off. And in the reflection of the driver's side window, Caleb, but in reverse, left-handed. He's right-handed. And in the reflection he was smiling. Caleb isn't smiling now. He's missing. Now here's where the story fractures, where truth starts slipping. Because the Bureau's primary analyst on the Rook case, gone. Her name, Evelyn Morris. She issued a memo warning that the phenomenon might be behavioral, not physical. That the observer wasn't a person or a creature, but a pattern. A behavior that learned how to express itself visually. Her last transmission ended mid-sentence. If we can model its parameters, we can track the loop entries. It won't be able to breach unless we. That was it. Transmission cut. Security footage from her lab shows only her standing in front of a blank mirror. Then static. Then nothing. But the final piece? Her desk. Left behind. A folder marked Sequence R7. Inside, 9 still frames. All surveillance shots. All different people. All taken at different times. But every one of them shows the same person standing in the background. Blurred. Out of focus. Same height. Same build. Same position. Hands at sides. Head tilted. And the same timestamp in every photo. 3 hours, 17 minutes, and 4 seconds. Different days. Same time. Now here's the twist. We ran those faces through facial recognition software. 8 of them, confirmed. All current missing persons. But the 9th? Unmatched. No ID. No driver's license. No government record. Until today. Because a retired detective named Samuel Creeley came forward. He swears he knows the man in that photo. He says it's Gavin Rook's father. But here's the thing. Gavin never had a father on record. Only a mother. Dead since 2004. No next of kin. But Creeley says he met the man once. Back in 1998. In a mirror shop. On the edge of town. He remembers it because the man said something strange when he left. You see the world, but do you see the seams? That store? Burned down 3 days later. No arson report. No insurance claim. Just gone. Now the Bureau's calling this an echo construct. A behavior repeating across generations. Like a memory that doesn't know it's not alive. And Gavin? He may never have been the origin. Just the latest carrier. A reflection that made it through. And now, here's where the nightmare sharpens. Every incident tied to the pattern has occurred within 12 feet of a reflective surface. Glass, metal, water, even polished floors. Which means the safe zone, the real safe zone, is shrinking. So they issued a new advisory. Level gray. Avoid mirrors at night. Do not engage with reflective surfaces during REM sleep cycles. And most importantly, if your reflection moves, before you do, look away. Do not blink. It learns fastest when you blink. And then, One last warning. From the Bureau's latest memo, the loop is widening, and it may no longer need glass. We're not just dealing with a killer. We're dealing with a contagion of sight. Something spreading through the act of being seen. So what happens when it learns how to show up on cameras? Or phone screens? Or anywhere light reflects? Because now, the last reported incident wasn't through a mirror at all. It was through a Zoom call. A student, home alone, camera on, muted. The class watched her screen freeze, just for a second. But when it resumed, she was gone. In her place, a looped video of her, smiling, over and over, 17 seconds long. File name? u_c_me_now.mp4. Stay with us, because in this part, we go back to where it began, and to the one person who might have opened the first mirror, without ever realizing it. Before the footage, before the bail hearing, before the name Gavin Rook was even on paper, there was one place, private institution outside Park Ridge, Illinois. Buried in sealed records, one file remains partially unredacted. Patient ID R0427G. Admitted June 1997. Discharged unknown. Facility St. Eloria Neurobehavioral Institute. Diagnosis persistent mirror delusion disorder with dissociative replication ideation. In layman's terms, he believed his reflection was a separate person, and more disturbingly, that it was older than him, that it knew things he hadn't done yet. The file shows early interviews, conducted by Dr. Evelyn Sartre. Her notes, recently recovered from a broken archive server, describe repeated behavioral anomalies. One passage stands out. Subject refers to the reflection not as a hallucination, but as a prior occupant. He insists he is a tenant in someone else's memory. The mirror is not a surface. It's a lease. That patient, he never gave his name, but his photo was a match to Gavin Rook. Same eyes, same birthmark, same scar across the chin. The twist? The photo is dated 5 years before Gavin Rook was born. And now the timeline fractures again. Because in 1998, that same hospital was evacuated after a power surge caused a system-wide failure. 19 patients unaccounted for. All records lost. Except one. Security footage. One frame, frozen at 3:17 a.m. Camera glitching. And in the background, a boy, not moving, staring into a mirror. And his reflection? Older, taller, smiling. Now back to the present. The Bureau has initiated something new. Project Loopfall, a joint task force involving data compression theorists, behavioral analysts, and forensic linguists. Their goal? Isolate the first recording of the observer. Find the seed. Delete it if it exists. But it may be too late, because a new kind of footage surfaced this morning. Posted anonymously. An old camcorder tape, dated 2003. Shot in someone's living room. A birthday party. Kids playing. A man, presumably the father, is filming. At one point he pans toward a hallway mirror, just for a second. But when you freeze the frame, there's something standing in the hallway. Not a person. Not a shape. A crease in the image. Like reality bending inward. And behind it, a smiling boy, wearing a party hat. But there were no boys at that party. Only girls. And the voice on the camera suddenly cuts out, replaced with static. But buried in the noise, a single whisper, slowed down and enhanced by the Bureau's audio team. For words. Let me finish this. That footage was uploaded under the file name gr_mp4, which brings us to the final discovery. Last night, a Bureau analyst tracked a signal spike originating from inside the Red Vault. That's where Gavin's original court testimony is archived. The system registered an access attempt. But here's the thing. The account used? It was deactivated in 2019. Belonged to Dr. Evelyn Sartre. Dead since 2021. Her body was found in her apartment, surrounded by mirrors, all shattered. But the security footage that night showed no one entering, only her. And then, at 3:17 a.m., the screen glitched, and her reflection moved first. The final frame? Her hand reaching toward the lens, like she was trying to pull someone through. That image? Classified. But it leaked. And in the lower corner of the reflection, a face, partially visible. It isn't hers. It isn't Gavin's. And facial reconstruction confirms. It doesn't match anyone in any known database. The caption embedded in the file metadata? Observer 0, we never should have looked. Now the Bureau is locking down. Mirrored surfaces at headquarters are being replaced with matte panels. Employees are issued body cams, required to submit nightly reports confirming visual alignment. The public? Still unaware. But not for long, because another video dropped this morning. A screen recording of a live stream. A young woman vlogging from her bedroom. She's laughing, then freezing. Behind her, just glass. A simple vanity mirror. But in the mirror, she's already standing, smiling, but she hasn't moved yet. The footage ends abruptly. Stream chat filled with one word. Again. And now, people are seeing it in reflections of their car windows, in their phone screens, even in puddles. It's always subtle, always just a second too early, but it's there. Which means the observer is learning faster. And Gavin? He was never the monster. He was the message. The loop began decades ago, and now it's repeating at scale. Next time, we go deeper, into the personal files of Agent Miriam Lowe, the woman who first saw the loop break, and the file she left behind, encrypted, unmarked, buried in a folder labeled "Playback Required," because sometimes, the only way to understand what you're seeing is to watch it happen again. A week after Rachel Kent vanished, a letter was delivered to a P.O. box registered to her name, though she'd never used it before. The postmark was smudged, no return address, just a single line scrawled across the envelope. The oath never ends. Inside was a photo, grainy and black and white. It showed Rachel, but younger, standing at a summer camp bonfire, surrounded by 7 other teens. One face was circled. Evans. Authorities traced the camp's name. Stillwater Ridge, a remote private retreat that shut down in 2009 after multiple reports of behavioral conditioning and unlicensed psychological testing. No charges were ever filed. But 4 of the camp staff have since died. 2 by suicide, 1 in an unsolved arson, and 1 in a disappearance classified as voluntary. The 5th staff member, a former counselor named Jonah Clive, resurfaced in Montana 3 days ago. He walked into a rural sheriff's office, shaking, clutching a flash drive. He said nothing except, "I need to speak to someone federal." The flash drive contained surveillance clips, some no longer than a few seconds, dating back nearly 15 years. Different homes, different towns, but always the same moment. Someone noticing a camera. A blink, a turn of the head, a shadow in the reflection. In one of the final clips, timestamped 2 days before Evan's original arrest, there's a close-up of a man's face. He isn't Evan, but he's wearing Evan's jacket, and he's smiling directly into the lens. Digital forensics flagged something else. Hidden metadata inside the footage. GPS coordinates. And a time. Next week. Task Force Echo was formed within 48 hours. A joint FBI-NSA operation authorized under Emergency Protocol 14A. They called it the first preemptive manhunt of a crime not yet committed. They arrived at the coordinates, an abandoned textile mill outside Fresno, hours before the marked time. The building had been gutted for years, windows shattered, asbestos warnings half buried beneath graffiti. Inside, they found a room, completely untouched, pristine, walls lined with photos. Every task force member documented in their homes. A single monitor played a loop. Evan's voice, flat and mechanical, repeating. Every observer becomes the observed. Every lock remembers the key. The power wasn't connected. The generator hadn't worked in a decade. A secondary team traced the source of the footage. It led to a facility once owned by Pendrake Solutions, a now-defunct private contractor specializing in biometric surveillance. Records show that Evan Marshall was once an intern there. He left the company in 2011, but his personnel file was flagged with a single red stamp: Echo Class Initiate, Unresolved. A whistleblower from Pendrake, operating under the alias Gaveston, came forward last night. Through encrypted messaging, they stated, "Evan was never the endgame. He was the prototype. The others are still out there." 1 hour later, Gaveston's safe house went dark. All contact lost. The FBI received a new package this morning. No note, just a burner phone. At 3:03 a.m. it rang. An automated voice whispered, "Rachel has completed her side. Are you ready to see yours?" A digital image followed. A composite of 8 faces. Blurred, almost spectral. But in the center, unmistakable, Detective Noah Graves, missing since September. Except in this image, his eyes are open, and he's smiling. No official agency has released a statement. The file has been classified under Echo Tier Red. There is now an internal debate. Is Evan still operating alone? Or is he part of a larger program finally reactivating itself? All we know is this: the list of names is growing. And the next time the phone rings, it might be for you. For days after the image of Detective Noah Graves was received, the burner phone rang again, this time from an unknown international number. No voice, just a tone, 4 high-pitched notes followed by static. Analysts isolated the frequency and matched it to an audio signature last used during Cold War cipher transmissions. Hidden beneath the static, a message embedded via frequency shift keying. It decoded to a single line: "Graves is awake." Authorities traced the signal's origin to an off-grid relay tower in the Black Hills of South Dakota, a location not on any official communication maps. When a field team arrived, the tower was still transmitting. At its base, a rusted metal hatch sealed with a biometric lock. A forensic unit identified the fingerprint smeared across the panel. It belonged to Rachel Kent. She had never been to South Dakota. Not officially. Inside the hatch was a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. At the bottom, a bunker, circa 1962. Walls covered in data tapes, analog screens flickering to life the moment the agent stepped inside. A reel-to-reel recorder spun on its own. A voice began playing. It wasn't Rachel. It wasn't Evan. It was Noah Graves. "I wasn't taken. I was activated. You don't understand what we are. What we were built for." The recording ended with a high-pitched shriek, followed by silence. Next to the recorder, a sealed envelope labeled Project Janice, Final Directive. Inside, 20 black and white photos, surveillance stills, all recent, all from different cities. Each showed a person looking directly into the camera, mid-step, mid-blink, perfect eye contact. Every photo was labeled with a different name and date. All 20 dates? Tomorrow. Meanwhile, back at FBI HQ, Agent Selena Voss received an anonymous email. The subject line: "You're watching the wrong mirrors." Attached was video footage, grainy and low-res. It showed her office. From inside her office, filmed through the mirror on her wall. She had that mirror removed last month. The final frame of the video zoomed slowly into the mirror's reflection. A face began to form. Familiar. Hers. But older. Worn. And behind her, Rachel Kent. Watching. Authorities have now confirmed that Rachel's DNA was recently found on a toothbrush in a hotel room in Reykjavik. She had never left the country. There's no flight record. No passport activity. Nothing. But a new recording has surfaced. This time from a baby monitor in a family home outside Baltimore. No one in the house remembers placing it. The recording lasts 20 seconds. First a lullaby, then a whisper. He finished what he started. Now she'll finish what he couldn't. As of today, the file has been reclassified. No longer a manhunt. No longer a psychological profile. It's now labeled a pattern breach. And the question isn't who let Evan out. It's who let the others in. Stay tuned for part 3.